Hello everybody, it is I, Mr. Nitpick, and I don't know how this audio is going to sound because I'm speaking very close to a microphone, but I'm also being kind of quiet because it's kind of late. But I'm hoping it's good. I'm hoping the audio is good. So welcome back to another Reveal! For the first time in this series, we are going to be talking about shows this time. Now, if you told me to recommend you a TV show about a school for students with superhuman abilities, but that very school is harboring some deep secret that somehow involves a secret laboratory underneath the school, and our main characters have to uncover it as the show goes on, well, you've narrowed it down to two shows. Cartoon Network's 2010 show created by Paul Dini, Tower Prep, and Amazon's 2023 spin-off of The Boys, Gen V. Here's a spoiler warning for Season 1 of Tower Prep and Season 1 of Gen V. Let's start with the show that came out first. I was 8 years old when this show was announced. And I remember impatiently waiting for this show to premiere because I saw the trailer and I had an intense attraction to this girl. I was a little boy with big feelings I didn't quite understand. But I remember getting sincerely hooked on the show's plot and concept outside of this wonderful lady, and I watched it right up to the disappointing end. But before we talk about that, let's start at the beginning, shall we? Episode 1. So right off the bat, you can tell the dialogue and the acting are very rough. This is not something I would hold in high regard. So this is our protagonist, Ian. One second he's playing a video game, and the next he's waking up in Tower Prep with no memory of how he got there. He's pretty much just this hothead pretty boy karate master that every 8-year-old boy wants to be. And when he wakes up in Tower Prep, he freaks out, and his roommates tell him to go to orientation. And you would think that they would start with orientation before putting him in a random bed to prevent somebody from freaking out like he does, and like the normal person would. It would be much better if they woke up in orientation. We'll say they had their reasons. We'll move on from it. So he tries to run away, but he's stopped by a weird-looking wall, so he decides to go to orientation. But he also finds out his roommates were pranking him, and he ends up pit-stopping to fight some roller skaters, and this is where he meets his arch-nemesis, this guy. I also want to point out in this first episode, and this isn't exclusive to the first episode, but it's definitely very apparent here, the music choices are so fucking cheesy, and I know it's a product of its time, but it's still fucking cheesy. It's so cheesy. So Ian begins associating himself with the rest of the cast when he bumps into them while they're also trying to escape. So that lady I talked about later, she plays this character named Suki. Suki's ability is that she can mimic voices and handwriting and stuff like that. She's like a mimic. She can mimic things. This is CJ. She kind of has like a Sean Spencer ability to where she can read every micro-facial expression somebody makes and tell you exactly what they're feeling. And she can also read handwriting and tell you what they're feeling. Handwriting comes up in a later episode. It's like a whole thing. And this is Gabe. His power is that he can persuade anybody to do anything. Or at least he can persuade most people to do most things. And it's a problem with the writing, not necessarily the concept, but Gabe is not really a sharp talker. He doesn't sound very convincing ever. It's safe to assume that his power involves hypnotism to a certain degree, but his power pisses me off for a very specific reason. It only works when it's convenient to the plot, and it never works when it would be inconvenient for it to work. That is to say, his power only works to advance the plot when the plot needs it. It's frustrating. There's even this one scene later in the show where they're about to dissect a frog or something, I think, or maybe it was a rat, and they try to get their classmate to do it for them, and then Ian convinces them to do it. And that scene doesn't make any sense at all because there was no reason for Gabe not to be the person to convince him. Gabe's powers are so incohesive, it just sucks, and I'm done ranting about him. And the quality of the show overall is what you would expect out of a live-action 2010 show with a target demographic of children. It's bad. But it's not offensively bad. It's mostly cheesy, cliche, and a little hollow. It doesn't break any cardinal sins. In this episode, like most, is going to be a 4 out of 10. Then episode 2. So Ian gets arrested. Yes, arrested by monitors. They're hall pass kids. They look like federal agents, and he gets arrested by them for allegedly stealing stuff. And he is supposed to make a case for why he didn't steal anything without asking for help from anybody. How does that make any fucking sense at all? Like, how does that make any fucking sense at all? Let me ask you a third time. How does that make any fucking sense at all? How is he supposed to prove that he didn't steal anything if he can't fucking talk to anybody or go out and prove that he didn't steal anything? Obviously, how he gets around this is he talks to people despite him not being allowed to. You know, it made me think about this one time when I was in high school, right? This is a side tangent, I don't give a shit. So in high school, me and a buddy of mine, we wrote a book, and it wasn't a good book, and it's never going to see the light of day. It was terrible, terrible piece of writing. And we had to do this sort of like book report in our English class, and this teacher had it out for me. We did not get along very well. And I mean, part of that was because I was kind of an asshole. I was a bit of a brat in high school. As long as I had a C, I did not give a shit about assignments, and I got on a lot of teachers' nerves. But this teacher specifically really had it out for me. And I asked her, witnesses present, I asked her, can I do this book report on my book? On the book I wrote. And she says, sure, why not? I'm paraphrasing. That's probably not what she said verbatim, but she basically gave me permission to do it. And then, when I turned it in, I got a bad grade. Why did I get a bad grade? Oh, because you did it on something you wrote. That's not the assignment. So I argue with her. I don't just let that slide. I argue with her. And she's like, well, if you want to go talk to the principal about it, we can go talk to the principal about it. And of course, I say, yeah, let's do that. And so we get to the principal's office, and the most infuriating thing happens. We sit down, the three of us, and then the principal just starts asking about this teacher's day. And I knew right then, oh my god, dude, it's rigged. It's fucking rigged. They're all fucking buddy-buddy here. They're not going to give me a fair trial. Now, my grade was on the line. This was threatening to make my grade from like a C- to like an F or D or something. Like, I didn't want to fucking be in this lady's class again. I didn't want to get held back. This was a big deal for me. Because even though I didn't aim higher than a C, I never let it dip. I never let it dip below a C. And now I'm sitting here thinking, like, I'm not even going to have a fair trial. We start arguing. I don't remember the exact details, but we all start having this discussion about how she told me one thing and now she's turning around and lying about it. Or, you know, at least maybe she forgot. Trying to give her the benefit of a doubt when I'm talking with her fucking buddy here. And then I bring up, well, you know, so-and-so was there when I asked. The principal cuts me off. And she says, you're not bringing other students into this. I'm just sitting there like, okay. Then what the fuck am I supposed to do? At that point, it's just her word versus mine. And obviously, I know which fucking side you're going to take. I don't have a chance. And that's what this episode reminded me of. It brought up a lot of old trauma. Now, I just stood my ground and sat there and argued and argued and argued. This channel is testimony to how well I can sit here and bitch for hours and hours. And eventually, the teacher just got sick of it and she conceded. And she gave me a grade on the assignment that would keep me at a C-, like the lowest grade she could give me, while appeasing me as far as my C- goes. But it's still a very frustrating experience. And in terms of this show, this episode specifically, it doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense in real life. It doesn't make sense in the show. It just doesn't make sense. It just doesn't make sense. How are you supposed to prove something if you can't ask for help or witnesses, or you can't investigate who stole the stuff for real? Anyway, back to the show. He finds a secret passageway of tunnels that go underneath the school. And so while he's investigating under the tunnels, Suki takes his place, and this scene happens.
Oh man, you must be into somebody. Tell me, Archer, it must be pretty cold without a blanket.
Suki Sato's kind of cute.
Really? You're into Sato.
Seriously?
Suki is a hottie.
Such a hottie.
And that scene confirms my suspicions when I was a young boy. This scene validates me. Anyway, through clever investigative work, they determine the real thief is this guy. And he stole the thing and framed Ian because he doesn't know how to make friends. Wow, how fucking stupid. And this show really likes to flirt with being a 3 out of 10. But alas, I look upon episode 2 and I grant another 4 out of 10. Episode 3. Something that's important to mention about this show is the school is sort of ran and moderated by this AI called Whisper. And also, Ian has been getting secret notes from somebody like, I'm scared too, and beware, stop asking questions. And the group finds out that Whisper's the one sending those messages, and that's what this episode is about. And it was pretty obvious early on, but that's only because this show dumbs itself down so much. Like, in theory, this could have been a really cool twist, but of course they have to foreshadow so much much that it beats you over the fucking head. 4 out of 10. 4 out of 10. It's a 4 out of 10. Episode 4. In this episode, Ian gets recruited as a sports player and faces off against his nemesis. Yeah, this episode had a slight dip in quality as far as acting and dialogue goes, and that would typically bring it down to a 3 out of 10 for me. However, Ian's nemesis is like a total asshole, right? And he's supposed to be. Like, I understand that. He's written to be an asshole. But Ian throws the game and gives his rival the win, so there's zero retribution for him being an asshole. He's an asshole, and there's no satisfying conclusion. There's no comeuppance. He's just an asshole, and he gets away with it. And that is also frustrating. That is incredibly frustrating. So this episode actually gets a 2 out of 10. Episode 5. So this episode is about a secret cult-like fraternity that recruits Ian, and they use their steroids to enhance their abilities. The acting went back up to bearable, but the dialogue remained eye-rollingly bad. And also, this like cult-like fraternity is not sanctioned by the school. They would get in trouble for being a part of this fraternity, right? But the leader of this fraternity like reveals his identity to people that aren't even recruited yet. Like, what kind of a brain-dead move is that? Another major oversight. It's just oversight after oversight with this show. And of course, that's exactly how he's defeated, is once he kicks Gabe out, Gabe is all like, oh yeah, it's this guy. And then he gets in trouble. Like, oh my god, dude, how fucking stupid. Like, they only recruited Ian, so what made them think that the people they kicked out wouldn't run and tattle to the headmaster? I haven't mentioned the headmaster. He's the headmaster. He's the guy that runs the show. Not the show. Like, he's not the showrunner. Headmaster is a character in the show, and he's the guy that runs Tower Prep in the show. Tower Prep the school. Okay, I think you follow. Anyway, this episode gets a 3 out of 10. Episode 6. So this episode, our group gets assigned a test on the Odyssey, but Ian's book has hidden messages leading him on a journey similar to the Odyssey. Yeah, that's this episode. 4 out of 10. Episode 7. Gabe runs for student president and wins, but if you're gonna have an election of some sort in your show, your character better have something to say, because all we see is Gabe just saying famous quotes out of context, and then the crowd just cheers for him.
Don't ask what Tower Prep can do for you. Ask what you can do for Tower Prep. Government of students, by the students, and for the students, shall not perish from Tower Prep. Thank you.
It sucks, dude. It's like so cringeworthy. Also, his opponent's campaign manager modifies a virus and makes people sick to sabotage Gabe's campaign, and she obviously fails, gets found out, and gets sent to the headmaster. But then the headmaster is all like, show us how you did it, and you're off the hook. And leading to the cringiest evil smile I've ever seen. This episode gets a 3 out of 10. Episode 8. This episode is all around not important. They just explore the outdoors. Ian and his nemesis bond before his nemesis becomes a gnome. A gnome, you ask? Well, yeah, I mean, they haven't really been at all relevant, but there's these dudes with green helmets out in the woods around the school that prevent kids from escaping, and they're called fucking gnomes. And this episode gets a 4 out of 10. Episode 9. Okay, so this episode is kind of fucking wild. They meet a mysterious new kid who's all about escaping. He's like, I hate this place, fuck this place. And the gang also sees this yellow elevator in their dreams, and they find that elevator underneath the tunnel. Like, they have the same elevator in their dreams. They're like, holy shit, this elevator's real. And they go find the elevator, and they find out that the elevator actually leads to the founder of the school's office, Mr. Cornelius Tower, the guy that founded Tower Prep. And we learn that the founder was betrayed by somebody, and the new kid vanishes, but not before coming to Ian in a dream and telling him that he's a Tower loyalist. Then Ian finds out that he's Tower's grandson or some shit. I mean, he said he's not, so I don't know. I don't know where they were going with that. The show got canceled. It's actually a pretty cool episode. I really like the eerie vibes, the whole idea of like shared dreams. It has like a very good creepiness to it that I really enjoy, and I'm giving this episode a 6 out of 10. Episode 10. In this episode, Suki is reunited with the brother she believed had died. The AI in the school get an upgrade, and Ian calls his mom, and she's all like, do you know how dangerous this phone call is? It's a pretty boring episode, and it obviously goes nowhere because the show was canceled. This gets a 4 out of 10. Episode 11. In this episode, they finally plan their escape, but apparently Ian and possibly Gabe's plan is to return home, but like, I mean, wouldn't they just get sent back? Like, they were at home, and then they were at Tower Prep. Like, what is going home gonna solve? It's just, they're just gonna end up back in Tower Prep. I don't get it. It's a poorly thought out plan. That's oversight number 500 at this point. Ian, however, finds an underground resistance that suddenly asks him to lead them, and I also want to bring up this other point. Every group that Ian interacts with wants him to be their leader or hold some kind of authority. Like, every time he comes across a group or an organization, they're all like, Ian, you're gonna lead us. He's like the fucking Dovahkiin. Also, his nemesis returns and is caught talking with CJ, so there's this whole plot line of, is CJ evil? Is CJ evil? Is CJ working with the evil guys? And then at the end of the episode, the underground resistance disappears. Episode 12. In this episode, the mystery kid comes back and gets abducted by gnomes. Suki's brother starts the process of sending her back home to her dad, and Gabe gets sent to a prison that they keep on the west side of campus. And it's also revealed that CJ is actually Headmaster's daughter, which was genuinely a great twist. I wasn't expecting it. I was undermining this show's ability to have an epic sauce twist like that. So good on ya, show. This episode gets a 5 out of 10. Episode 13. Now in the final episode, CJ betrays her dad and runs away with the gang. They rescue Gabe and they finally escape Tower Prep. Only to learn that it was all part of Tower Prep to begin with or some shit like that. What? I mean, who really knows? The show ends here. There's a lot of unanswered questions. So we're just left on a giant fucking cliffhanger. And this episode is yet another 4 out of 10 for me. So for me, the show as a whole lands at a 4 out of 10. Not quite as flattering as the Rotten Tomatoes score. But to be honest, this show is just a bit too PG for its own good, which is unsurprising coming from a live-action Cartoon Network show, but I will give it all the credit in the world for its originality. This show was a truly unique show. So let's talk about the show that ripped its shit.
Oh, make me over. I'm all I wanna be.
So these are the warnings that play in the beginning of episodes. So I'm just going to put them right here. So this is your warning as well, because I will probably talk about some of this stuff. So as I've said in the intro, this show takes place in the Boys universe, which if you're somehow unfamiliar with it, it's a satirical superhero show that's concept is essentially, what if superheroes were fucked up? And just so you understand where I stand, I think The Boys is far from a perfect show, especially in the more recent season, but I love it. I mean, it's a top 10 show for me. Gen V, however, let's just get into it. Episode 1. Meet Marie. She has the ability to control blood. She first discovers her powers when she gets her first period and accidentally murders her parents with it. Now, she mostly uses her powers by cutting herself and making, like, blood lassos, and, her powers gross me out, dude. I get all squeamish when I watch her. It's not a pleasant experience for me. I don't know if I've said it before on this channel, but I do often say, I can watch gore all day, fucking Saw, Art the Clown, you name it. But self-harm has always made me queasy for some reason. Like, I don't even have experience with it, so I don't know what the fuck, but it just grosses me out. The present day begins with her in some superhero orphanage, but we don't see her there very long because she's accepted into a superhero university, Godolkin University. This is Emma. She's like Ant-Man, except she's also gross. She shrinks by vomiting. This is not a show to watch while eating, as I've learned the hard way. This is Golden Boy. He's like Human Torch. He's like Human Torch. This is Kate. She has these mind control abilities. And this is Andre. Well, he's basically Magneto. This is Jordan. They can change their biological sex. I mean, there's kind of more to their power than that, but like that's kind of their main shtick. I don't really know how their power relates to that. I don't know what their power is, to be honest, other than changing their biological sex, but they have like some weird other stuff going on. It's never really explained. So Marie and Andre meet when they tag team take down some crazy guy that's running from some security motherfuckers. More on that later. And now Andre invites her to hang out with him and Golden Boy and the cool kids. So the cool kids go hang out, and then Andre accidentally almost kills somebody. But luckily, Marie saves her life. But then she gets expelled because this guy, the professor, wants to save the cool kid's skin by throwing her under the bus. So she goes off and she gets sad. Then she's all like, you know what, I'm gonna go have another word with that guy. So she goes in there to tell him off, but then she walks in on Golden Boy murdering him. Then he tries to kill her because she witnessed it, but he's stopped by Jordan and then calmed down by Andre, and then he kills himself. I mean, as far as this episode goes, I think it has a baller ending, but the rest of it is just so lame. It definitely does not feel as interesting as The Boys, and I'm giving it a 5 out of 10. Episode 2. In this episode, two main things happen following Golden Boy's death. 1, Marie gets famous as they credit her and Andre alone in stopping Golden Boy despite Jordan's help. She decides to go along with it. 2, Golden Boy's brother is actually alive. That crazy guy that Andre and Marie actually did stop together, he was actually Golden Boy's brother, and Golden Boy thought he was dead and then found out he was alive, and that's why he got all crazy and killed himself. His name is Sam, and he's in some secret laboratory under the school called The Woods. So now Andre and Kate Kate begin investigating this place. This episode gets a 5 out of 10. Episode 3. So Andre meets Emma and tells her about the woods, and then she infiltrates it and meets Sam. She ends up killing a guard, and the episode ends on a cliffhanger. It gets a 5 out of 10. Episode 4. So the main thing about this episode is that Sam and Emma escape the woods. Emma goes back to school. Sam decides to go and kill a guy, but Emma tells everybody and they all show up to stop him. But suddenly, out of nowhere, they wake up, they're all in bed, and the episode just ends on a major cliffhanger. But there's this side plot where this guy Tech Knight shows up. He actually has a very similar power to CJ, where he can just read a person by looking at their facial expressions and whatnot. And he's planning on pinning the Golden Boys' murder-suicide on the dean of the school. And it's like this big thing. Oh no, how terrible. This will definitely change the plot. But nope, the dean magically comes up with videos of him fucking random things for a random reason, and the problem solves itself. It's literally a deus ex machina. Just terrible writing. And while it's not exclusive to this episode made me realize I'm not really that invested in any of the characters. And I can't really place why, because I wouldn't go as far as to call them two-dimensional. But I guess the conflict they've been given isn't all that interesting. These characters are not put into situations that push them in meaningful ways. The plot just drags them along. I mean, look at Emma, for example. Andre comes to Emma, and he's like, hey, so there's this guy locked in a basement somewhere, and you're small, can you go get him? And she's like, yeah, I'll do it. And he's like, oh, wait, never mind, don't do that. That was too much to ask of you. And she's like, no, I'll do it. It's that. It's that exactly. Like, the characters aren't driven with any substance. They just go along with the plot. Anyway, this episode gets a 4 out of 10. Episode 5. They all wake up with their memory wiped. They don't remember Sam or the woods or anything. Marie gets suspicious of the dean. She finds a tracker inside of her and tells Kate, who reveals herself as a twist villain who wiped their memory and is working with the dean. Then she wipes her memory again. But Sam tattles to Emma, and Emma tattles to the gang, so Kate is found out. This episode also had a kind of really fun puppet action scene. So that's cool. This episode gets a 5 out of 10. Episode 6. So the gang literally gets sucked up into Kate's mind, and it's really just the inside a dream trope, complete with a random character to explain how the rules work, and a random character to die to prove the stakes. I mean, it works narratively, but it's not as interesting or clever as it thinks it is. So this next thing has been hinted at throughout the show, but in this episode it's confirmed. The dean is making a virus in the woods to kill all superheroes. Superhero genocide. And you know what this show does very well?
Now can you make it contagious?
That.
Oh, make me over.
A really cool ending.
Andre, please.
A badass line. And then cut to the credits with an appropriate soundtrack.
I put a spell on you.
If the show could pull that feeling off throughout the episodes instead of just at the end, I would probably enjoy it a lot more. And while we're talking about it, I just want to say overall, I think the music choices in this show are fantastic. It's definitely something it has over Tower Prep. Anyway, this episode gets a 5 out of 10. Episode 7. So in this episode, Sam becomes a soup supremacist faster than you can say, now I'm racist. When I say soup supremacist, I'm talking about superhero supremacy, not somebody that holds chicken noodle and clam chowder as the epitome of food. The dean confesses everything, how she plans to kill every superhero. Then Kate kills the dean, and Newman, here, a character from The Boys, kills the scientist that made the virus and runs away with it. This episode ends up being a 5 out of 10, and then we move to the final episode, episode 8. So after killing the dean, Kate's like, I'm gonna go free everyone in the woods, and Sam sides with her, but then our main squad tries to stop them, and why? Like, I understand why they're in opposition as far as what just happened. Kate just murdered the dean, and they're like, dude, don't murder people. What the hell? And now you're kind of, like, parroting this soup supremacy crap. Like, I understand opposing that, but, like, the people in the woods are still prisoners that are being tortured. Just because the main group didn't want Kate to kill the dean doesn't mean they're suddenly on the dean's side and should want the prisoners to remain in prison. Put yourself into World War II. And if you're a World War II veteran, maybe sit this exercise out. But put yourself in World War II, all right? You're in Germany, and you're American. You see this British guy murder a dog. He murders a dog, and you're like, dude, we do not murder dogs. That's fucked up. And then he's like, yeah, well, guess what? I'm going to murder more dogs. But first, I'm going to go free everybody in the concentration camp. Are you going to be all like, no? I'm not gonna let a dog murderer do anything else. Are you gonna like say, okay, yeah, let's do that, but also stop murdering dogs? Like, what is the logic here? Anyway, let's move on. Kate frees them and is all like, humans did this to you. Every human is responsible for what was done to you. So then they break free and they start killing humans. Then Sam switches up on Emma quicker than he became racist. Then Marie, Jordan, and Andre save the day, but then Homelander shows up and attacks them. And Vought News spins it as them being the bad guys and Kate and Sam being the heroes, an ending that is tragically relevant. And I'm giving this episode a 5 out of 10. And so the first season ends up being a 5 out of 10, and I'm not going to get to the second season, partly because I haven't watched it yet, and I'm not going to watch it until I'm caught up on Stranger Things, and partly because Tower Prep only has one season, so it's only fair to do one season and one season. Now this show as a whole is not a bad show, but it's certainly no Boys. And I wouldn't be quick to call it a good show either, but it's alright. But it's time to determine which of these two shows about a superhuman school that harbors secrets beneath it, with elements of corporate greed and experimentation with such superhumans. Which show does the concept better? Well, we never actually find out what the secrets of Tower Prep are. He said that she said that the creator of the show actually wanted there to be 5 seasons, but it was canceled after 1, so we're never gonna know the secrets of Tower Prep. Gen V, on the other hand, lays out the whole gist of things in just 8 episodes. A rather satisfying conspiracy, but to be fair to Tower Prep, I can't give Gen V the win on the basis that it actually told us what's going on, because it was canceled. However, this does mean that Gen V is more concise. In fact, it's 5 episodes less, and I think that adds to the quality of the show, but I don't think that means it does the concept better. So let's address the elephant in the room. The glaring difference between these two shows is the demographics. Tower Prep was made to be kid-appropriate and easily digestible, while Gen V was made for adults. Adults that aren't squeamish little babies like I am. But I don't think that this matters at all either. Although it does provide a hurdle for Tower Prep that I will touch on in a bit, I don't think it's the say-all be-all. So I asked myself, what do you want from a show about a super school wrapped in conspiracy? Well, I want an exciting mystery that's uncovered by the students using their unique abilities. And with that clear goalpost in mind, the winner became easier to dub. A drumroll. Gen V. I do think that Tower Prep is better at building that exciting mystery. Tower Prep beats Gen V in terms of getting you to ask all these questions, but there are 2 things that hurt it in this regard. The first thing is that it's episodic. They just keep adding and adding and adding to the lore, and it not only gets convoluted, but the mystery is not unraveled at a satisfying pace. And the more they try to world build, the more nonsensical it all becomes. It stretches itself way too thin. And maybe if it went on for the desired 5 seasons, it would have all clicked into place and been this masterful story, but judging based on the quality of season 1, I just doubt that. And 2, as I said I would touch on again, the PG-ness. Now, not only does it hurt the quality of the show, but I think it also hurts the mystery elements for 2 reasons. 1, the stakes are never high. There's one moment in the entire show where the students are in any real danger, but at the end of the day, their biggest worries are a slap on the wrist, getting beat up a little, wearing a green helmet. And 2, because the plot and characters are written to be easily digestible, the headmaster is written in such a stupid way. He could easily prevent the group on multiple occasions, but he has to be dumb and non-lethal and secretive just for the sake of the nonsensical plot. Like, it's hinted at that the headmaster is actually a good guy and that Ian should be on his side, but if that's the case, what's with all the secrets? Why not just come out and say that? And I have a strong feeling that the reason that was eventually going to be revealed isn't that much of a good reason. But what does Gen V do that is better at the concept? Well, they put real emphasis on the other half of the concept, which is superhuman abilities. Throughout the entire show, we see people using their powers casually. The show never lets us forget that these people are superpowered. In Tower Prep, we only learn the powers of people once it's necessary for the plot. Like, what is Emily's ability? What is Fenton's ability? I know I didn't really talk about either of these people, but they're not that important. But they're in the show enough that we should know their abilities, and we don't. The show never tells us. And on that point, the mystery of the schools don't get uncovered because of the abilities of the main group, but rather they concoct plans and then use their powers either for convenience in executing the plans or to get them out of sticky situations. It never directly contributes to uncovering the mysteries. In Gen V, Emma rescues Sam because she's small and she can do that. Kate then provides an additional obstacle by using her mind control, then turns around and uses her powers to free the prisoners. Then the main group uses their powers to stop them. I'm not even saying Gen V does this perfectly, but it certainly puts its characters and their abilities to better use than Tower Prep does. Anyway, that's all I got.